So my husband and I are relatively newlyweds. We've been married for a year now.
Oh, gross. Do y'all
And
still like each other?
we do. I love him.
Oh.
He is my best friend.
Gross. Okay, that's awesome. Good for you.
And we have our first baby on the way.
Congrats. Awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool.
But my problem, or I guess our problem, is that my husband's parents, every time they visit us or they call, all they want to talk about is our finances or anything related to finances, whether it's, if we're buying a new car or making any kind of investment. They always want to know the specifics of everything, and I'm not comfortable with it.
Is your husband just passing along y'all's financial info? Does he still call on his mommy and his daddy for permission to spend money?
No. So I think what it comes down to is that my husband and I were raised very differently. I was taught growing up there's some things that as adults you don't ask about. You don't talk about people's weight. You don't talk about people's finances in casual conversation. He was raised in a family that is very open. His parents talk about their own finances. They tell us about his siblings' finances. And, they're very comfortable with it. And to him, kind of not telling his parents when they ask, he says it makes him feel like he's lying to his parents instead of setting a boundary.
So this is an interesting dynamic, okay? So go with me on this. If his parents are asking y'all what feel like personal questions as a way to manipulate this relationship, that boundary is really important. And by the way, I love the way Nedra Webb says it. She says it so beautifully. Boundaries are a way for us to continue being connected. They're not a way to separate people. They're a way to allow a relationship to continue. And I think that is so powerful, right? So if they're asking you because they're trying to manipulate, they're using that to, and they're going to take your financial information and go back to the other siblings and be like, well, your brother's doing this. And then, that feels gross, right? It's their way of wiggling into somebody else's marriage. But the other side of it is, and I'll use my family as an example. Like, I just grew up in a house where everybody just says everything. You know what I mean? Like, too much. In fact, we don't ever talk about money in my family. Ever. Because money was a really deep sense of shame and tension. But I learned just a few years ago, I may have told that on the show, especially with my professional life has always been about mental health, I was doing sexual assault investigations early on. I was doing, my professional life has been geared towards, I had a huge chunk of it being around sex and the conversations around sex. And because of that, I developed such a comfort talking about it that I have had to go back and learn that is not good dinner time conversation for some couples. Yeah. Right?
And I think that's kind of where my husband's at with finances. He's comfortable talking about it, and I just am not.
Okay. So I think the challenge here is twofold. One, you digging into why do I have such a deep discomfort around talking about money?
Part of it is when they talk about our finances, it's not in a positive way.
Okay. So it's that it reveals or it's used against you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's an important call out. And being able to communicate that with your husband. Hey, I don't like talking about money. The deeper issue is I don't like your parents telling us that we're less than, telling us that we're dumb, telling us that we don't know how to, because y'all are going to have to make some mistakes together and figure them out together, right? And his parents running into the weight room that is your new marriage and taking all the weight off the bar for you is going to make it really difficult down the road when you'll have a major issue, which all marriages do, and you don't have the strength to work through it because you didn't have to solve these little bitty problems along the way, right?
Absolutely.
And so having that conversation, because if it just keeps being about money, he's never going to get it. If it's the deeper conversation, your parents make me feel less than. I don't like that. And they have manipulated you into thinking if you don't participate in them making us feel stupid and dumb, that somehow you're being dishonest with them. And that's gaslighting.
Right.
That's manipulation. That's not true. And the bigger issue here is, if we're honest, is a year in, you have a kid coming, you see the train coming down the tracks right at your marriage, which is, oh, they're going to then get involved in all of our parenting decisions and our living arrangements and our jobs. And I did not marry them. I married their son.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of.
Okay,
and
you have
I
to
just
put that on
stopped working too.
You have to put that on the table with your husband. I feel like I'm married to your mother and to your dad as well. And I didn't marry them. I married you.
Okay.
And here's the language I used in my house, okay, with me and my wife. And by the way, I was the one with the problem, not her. I literally have the best in-laws ever. I would put them up against anybody. And my parents are very supportive. They're great people. And it was a big day for me when I said out loud, my parents do not get a vote in my marriage, period. They can support me. They can love me. My dad and my mom are two brilliant people. Their job is to give me endless amounts of advice. But as for me and my household, my wife and I get to decide how we spend our money, what jobs we take, where we live, and how we raise our kids. Right?
And, I think my husband's on the same page as me with that. But I think it's more so him struggling with, how should he set the boundary with his parents? Is it better to, we've tried, in the past when they bring up finances, changing conversation to a different topic.
That's not it. That's not setting a boundary. That's
back.
Yeah, that's not setting a boundary. That's avoidance. That's running around.
Right.
So give me an example of how they ask about your finances.
It's very, so for an example, my husband just got transferred for his job.
Okay.
And with that transfer, we were given a stipend for moving costs.
Okay.
While we were packing, his parents came to visit, and the very first thing they asked, not about baby, not about how we're doing, it was, hey, so how much was that stipend, and what exactly do you plan on using it for? And we tried to change the conversation sort of to, how packing's going or something along those lines. And it just got back to, well, moving's expensive. How do you plan to pay for all of this? What exactly are you doing with it? And how much did you get?
Okay, that's a very intrusive question.
Right.
And so underneath that, what question were they actually asking you and your husband?
To me, they wanted to know specifically how much money we have sitting in our bank account right now.
Why would they want to know that?
I personally, and I don't like to speak bad about anybody, but I think it is a control thing. My son, their son, he's their oldest son. And I think it's been kind of hard for them to let go because they're used to, helping their younger kids with finances and all of that. I don't think they necessarily have any bad intent behind it, but I think it's just letting go of control and recognizing, hey, our kid is grown up and we don't need to have any involvement in this.
Right. And I think it may even be a deeper question. This is going to sound silly, but I want to give them some grace. Maybe they're asking themselves, who are we if we're not his decision maker?
Yeah, I can agree.
And so I get that sense of wrestling with that, right? And it's our job as we create our new family and our new household to begin to set boundaries. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some boundaries up so that we can have a close relationship with two people who clearly love their son, and hopefully they love you. And that is, hey, how much did you get on that stipend? Dad, they're taking care of the move. I know, but what was the dollar amount? Dad, I'm not going to get into personal numbers anymore. What? You're not going to tell me the numbers? Yeah, Dad, I got to keep some of that stuff private. They're taking care of the move. It's a really good deal, and I feel good about it. I shook hands on it, and it's good to go. Conversation over.
Okay.
And then
so
your
be
husband,
more direct about it.
But it doesn't have to be a fight. It's just a simple.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about the direct numbers. Like, I just want to keep some of that between me and my employer. And then he has to hold that tension. Because
Right.
when that first boundary gets put up, they are going to go to war to try to figure out how to solve it. And they might go to war by yelling. They might go to war about, oh, I guess you just don't care what we say anymore. And we're fine. Let's just go home. Had that happen with people I've met with before, that people got in the car and literally drove away. They might say, well, I guess then fine. If you don't need our help, they're going to respond however they're going to respond. And if you try to own their response, you're going to make yourself crazy. And you're going to create a wedge in your marriage, because you married a man that you want to stand up for you and for your kid and for himself and for your new family. And if you won't even do it with those two, how in the world is you going to do it when things get real dicey with an employer down the road, right?
Yeah.
And so he's got to feel that tension and exhale and say, I can't control their response. I can just control how well I love them. And loving them right now is, I don't want to talk about our personal, like the intimate details of our finances. And so when I moved from Texas to Nashville, I let my parents know, dude, it's a pretty great deal, and they're really helping out with the move. That's it.
That's the kind of conversation I would be more than happy to have. But
right. And so
yeah.
it's honoring to let my parents know your oldest son did good. It's honoring to let my parents know, hey, their oldest son's getting taken care of.
Right. And right? I know he's scared of being a bad son. He's a wonderful husband to me, but I know he wants to be a good son to his parents.
I don't think that's true. I think he wants to continue trying to please them, which means always doing whatever they say, whenever they say it, and even if it is divulging personal secrets.
Well, that's what I mean. I think they've gotten it to the point where when he doesn't and he starts drawing lines, they tell him that he's being a bad son.
Okay, if they say you're being a bad son, they're free to go.
Right, that's kind of where I'm at.
Or he can say, I'm not a bad son. I'm a pretty great son. I'm a good husband. I'm a good man. I'm a good employee. And it begins to communicate, you don't get a vote. And by the way, when they leave, he can sob and weep, because no kid should hear their parents look at them and say, you're a bad son. It's devastating.
I agree.
It's devastating, but that's manipulative. And so
I completely agree.
Here, the bigger picture here is they're using money as a way to continue to have a leash on their grown son. And he has to be the one that just know that hook that he has is he has the ability to unhook it. It's just going to be uncomfortable. So hopefully that helps, May. I'm really grateful for your conversation. And I love the fact that you're having this conversation with your husband before you have a kid. Because if y'all think they're intrusive now, wait till you bring their, quote unquote, their first grandkid. God almighty, it's going to be, they're going to buy the neighbor's house next door, Ray Romano style. And you think it's bad now. It's going to be, the ante's going to be way ramped up. And so maybe it's going to be saying, hey, nobody's allowed in the birthing room. Your mother's going to be so up. Yeah, my wife, we decided it's just going to be us two in there, period. Or just her mom, not you. And y'all can wait out in the waiting room. Or in fact, we don't want anybody at our house for the first week, and then we'd love to have you here on the second week. And then they can throw a temper tantrum and go away. Like, y'all get to decide those boundaries. But begin having those hard conversations now. In May, it's not about the money. It's about how you don't feel like your husband's stepping up. It's about you don't feel safe. It's about you want to feel connected to him, and y'all want to build something together. I'm all over the internet because of this job, and I hate feeling so exposed and out there, and that's why I love Delete Me. They help me take control of my digital privacy so I can be peaceful and not paranoid when I'm online and offline. For 20% off an annual plan, go to joindeleteme.com/Delony.